Hey guys, what is up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla stock. Let's go over the market. Let's talk about what happened today, what we can expect moving into a short week next week. Don't forget next week rather, is a shorter week. I believe the day before Christmas, the 24th, which I think is a Tuesday, is pretty much a half day, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously Wednesday itself, Christmas, the market is entirely closed, right? So keep that in mind, right? So definitely a bit of a shorter week. But nonetheless, let's talk about what I see moving forward. And is it good news? Is it bad news, etc.? So if you enjoy, don't forget to hit that like button. This is not financial advice, and I am not a financial advisor. And of course, if you do enjoy my technical analysis, thoughts, etc., I do share my thoughts really every single day. The market is open for just $3 a month, right? Just $3 a month. The link is below in the description of the video, where I constantly share my posts, updates, thoughts, etc. Obviously, mainly on Tesla stock, but sometimes I'll throw in other stocks that I'm seeing as well. Like today, I talked about Square, Microsoft, for instance. Or for $5 a month, you get access to everything I just said, plus NVIDIA daily updates, which right now I'm actually putting a lot of focus on NVIDIA because it's one of my main focuses right now. But with that being said and done, jumping into a Tesla closing the day down, unfortunately, 3.5%, closing just above $420 per share, which closing compared to the market is, a decent underperformance, right? Relatively speaking, of course. So let's talk about what I see moving forward. So, we talked about the other day, right? We mentioned how, we have a potential bearish little setup pattern here, forming up. And then yesterday we had a red day, which pretty much more or less, gives a lot more validity to the pattern in terms of potentially playing out. And today, seeing this relative weakness and this candle, it's not helping things, right? Let's just say that it's not helping, the stock look promising, I guess you can say, right? It's not really giving me personally confidence. That's why I'm not actually really trading much Tesla right now. I don't like the situation it's in right now. Now, that doesn't mean I'm, actually like bearish. Doesn't mean I think the 100% of the stock is going to fall. I mean, I'm still holding my long-term shares, and I actually bought back the sold cover calls that I sold all the way up here for like 70% off already, which is phenomenal. But with that being said, there's just something about the way the stock is trading, the way it's looking right now, that I'm not a fan of, right? It's not giving me confidence personally, so there's just something in my gut telling me to just avoid it for now. Whatever that means, whether that's right or wrong, we'll see. But obviously that's just gut. It's looking strictly at the charts, however, there are some signs of concern. Like, like I said yesterday and today, really, because we ended 3.5% red, it's not helping there, right? So the signs of concern are as follows, right? Obviously, we just talked about the pattern. That is something to watch out for, definitely moving forward. Another sign of concern is, of course, we have the stochastic with the bearish crossover in oversold territory. MACD is pretty much on the verge of a bearish crossover. Now, obviously, those can be false signals, right? Obviously, they're not perfect. It doesn't mean that, MACD crosses this and it's all over. No, of course not, right? So that's why you want to look at the chart itself. And in my opinion, the overall most important thing is going to be the chart. Indicators are indicators. They're good. They're useful. But the chart, the levels, the most important thing by far. And what are the levels telling us? Well, the levels are actually telling us that there's hope. There's actually hope, right? There is still hope for the bulls here. And the hope, like I mentioned, and I've said this for several days now, 415 to about 430. We're pretty much right in the middle of that range-ish, right at this 421-ish price range. We're like dead smack in the middle, right? So to me, the way I look at it is Tesla pretty much needs to not fall, and especially not close below that previous all-time high level at about 415. That's going to be very, very crucial, because if Tesla does go and especially close a daily candle below 415, that's bad, right? That shows even further weakness. We fall out of this rising channel, and it's not a good look, right? Because, today we did actually, for the first time in a while, the last time we did it was back here, which we still ended up rallying post, right? Which I want to make this very clear. You can see here, we actually closed within the cloud as opposed to constantly closing above the cloud, which is the 9 EMA at the top. Today, we actually did the same thing. We closed pretty much well within the cloud as well. So essentially losing the 9 EMA, which, is not a good sign in my opinion, right? That definitely shows that the bullish momentum is slightly fading. But again, last time we did this, it ended up being just all good. We just kept going up even further. So it's hard to say for sure. But the levels in terms of, it's 415 really. Again, I don't want to lose 415. I don't want to fall out of this channel. And pretty much more or less, as long as we maintain that ish, 415-ish range, it's still good. It's still good. I still wouldn't say I'm bearish on the stock. I don't think the stock is ready to, go down much further until or unless we close below that range. Now, let's say we do not. Let's say Tesla holds. Let's say it shows strength. And let's say it participates in what could be a potential market rally coming in starting sometime next week. Let's say that does happen, because so far, again, like I say, I don't assume a stock is going to be bearish. I don't assume, in this case, Tesla is going to fall out of this channel. I don't want to assume these things, because as it stands, there's no reason to believe that, right? It's still holding the levels I mentioned. and it's not cracking below. Now, yes, it's, looking a little bit sussy. It's showing some relative weakness here, and, it's not the best look for sure, but it's still holding those levels, right? There's no reason to look at the stock and be like, I'm shorting it right here, or I'm selling, or I'm bearish, whatever the case. There's no reason to think that, at least as of right now, because it's still holding those important levels that I mentioned, at least in my perspective. So assuming we continue holding them, assuming we do not lose those, I mean, the next step really is just we curl around into this channel, make our way back up into the mid to, low-ish, I'll say 500s. At the very least, a retest of all-time highs, closer to $500 per share, I think at bare minimum, which could be all she wrote, to be completely honest with you. But, again, when you're in a rising channel, you assume you are going to continue rising in that channel until proven otherwise, and we've been pretty much zigzagging in between this channel, so there's a very good chance we just pretty much rocket back all the way up here. As far as I'm aware, that's the next goal, really, until this channel falls apart. Maybe that falls apart on Monday. Always a possibility, but we'll talk about that and truly, start putting that situation into, we'll talk more about that situation if it, of course, actually happens. Now, of course, let's assume it happens. Let's assume Tesla does continue showing weakness. Let's assume it does really, truly lose its bullish momentum. And let's assume it does fall out of this channel and it does close below 415. Like I said, my main target, at the very least 400, but I generally believe that I think we'll come back down lower. I really do think we'll come back down somewhere into the 460s around here. Retest this previous rising triangle pattern breakout that we had, which obviously showed a lot of resistance. Come back, retest that as support. And that's roughly where the market bias will be sitting as well on the daily. So again, losing that 415-ish level, I personally think somewhere in the 360s-ish is my main target moving forward to the downside. And then I think from there we'll get a bounce, probably come back up, maybe retest this channel breakdown, and then potentially there's a chance we go even lower. Again, worst case scenario I see right now for Tesla, while still honestly being kind of bullish, honestly, is still all the way back down in the 270s roughly. I know that level is kind of a meme now because I used to say it all the time. But again, when I say these levels, when I say like even back here when I'm like, oh, but 260s, 270 will be my ideal buy range. That doesn't mean I think it's going there. That's just my ideal buy range. If it gets there, I'm buying. If it doesn't, all good, right? That's just kind of how these things work, right? So anyway, that's probably the main way I'll be looking at Tesla moving forward. If we lose this channel, come back to market bias, probably get a nice bounce, most likely retest this channel breakdown, and at the very least come down for a potential double bottom situation, or we make a lower low and make our way down somewhere below here, and Tesla would actually get a little bit bearish here, honestly, at least short term until we reclaim the moving averages and the market bias. But again, one step at a time. Let's lose the channel first, because so far, again, we're not losing the channel. So far, it's holding the channel, and so far, there's no reason to assume you will lose it, and you only pretty much have to assume the fact that it'll just continue going higher until proven otherwise, right? So those are probably the main things I'm looking at. Now let's go to the 1 hour chart really quickly, right? The one thing that is a little concerning, I guess, and the reason Tesla is seeing this kind of weaker, momentum today, I guess, if you will, and this, overall weakness, is because the bands on the 1 hour, right? The bands on the 1 hour have officially flipped bearish. Really, it's just that simple, right? I mean, they flipped bullish all the way back here, have been holding us bullish pretty much the whole ride up, and now they both have officially flipped bearish. So until these bands can get reclaimed back to red, or sorry, from red to green, I assume Tesla will continue showing weakness until proven otherwise. Now, obviously, we're going to start to coincide with, a resistance and a support area, because like I said, on the daily, we're close to 415, which, on the daily chart, massive area of support potentially there. So let's see if that plays out. And it'll be a battle between pretty much 415 support, which we got pretty damn close to recently, right? 418. Versus these bands on the 1 hour, which one comes out on top? That's going to be the main question to watch out for, and really just to see what happens with Tesla moving forward, right? Because it'll be a battle of essentially the bears versus the bulls between the 1 hour bands and really the daily bands and the rising channel. Now, obviously, the daily is a stronger time frame than the 1 hour chart, so let's see. But again, to me, Tesla, when I bring out my other bands, these ones here, it is coming out of overbought territory, which is a nice sign to see. I'll remove these for now, right? Which is a nice sign to see. It is cooling off a little bit here, which is, good. That is a good sign. I like the fact that it's no longer, this stupidly overbought, because this was just getting ridiculous. So this is a good sign. I like this. I just went down by accident. It's telling me the stock is kind of cooling off on the daily chart, which is good. That's good. It technically gives it more room to the upside again, which is, again, that's a good sign. But the weekly is a little bit of a different story. The weekly closed with a pretty hideous candle, right? This is not the candle you want to be seeing. What is this? This is not a candle that you want to be seeing on the weekly time frame, right? This is a pretty ugly candle. We're still pretty much in extreme overbought territory on the weekly. So in extreme overbought territory on the weekly and closing with this pretty much inverted bearish hammer candle, on volume, you know, that's why I'm personally focused on like NVIDIA and things like that right now, and Square. I actually like NVIDIA and Square. They're probably my two favorite charts right now. Even Microsoft, I think Microsoft doesn't look too bad, but NVIDIA and Square are my two favorite charts right now. That's why my main focus personally is on those two in terms of trading. Because, you know, I'm just looking at Tesla and I'm looking at these kind of situations, and there's just something about this chart right now. There's something about this that's just telling me, I don't have too much confidence personally. There's something in my gut telling me that there's just something's just not right here. I don't know what it is. I sometimes I can't even put it into, you know, into words really, but it's just intuition, I guess you can say. Could be wrong, completely could be wrong. But, you know, when I see this kind of inverted hammer candle like this at literally extreme levels of overbought on my weekly bands, that gives me hesitancy. It definitely gives me a little bit of hesitancy because this is a reversal pattern. This is a bearish reversal pattern. Absolutely no questions asked. So let's see. I mean, this will be confirmed if next week is red, and if next week is red, that also most likely means we did lose this channel, and we most likely will continue lower. So next week will be pretty important to see how Tesla reacts, to see if it continues and, you know, makes its way overall lower, or it actually, you know, pulls out a pretty nice looking, you know, victory for the bulls, which could be a very real possibility. We need to just see, right? Because we could be in this little kind of bull kind of flag or like bull wedge that can potentially break out and go higher. So we need to see how this plays out next week. We need to see if Tesla follows through or if it just falls apart. Very hard to say for sure here because there's a lot of conflicting things right at the moment, which is why, again, another reason I'm not fully trading Tesla right now. I just don't have a lot of, I don't feel like I have the best read on the chart because there's too much conflicting signals. There's an equal amount of bearish versus bullish signals, which I just talked about, right? Bearish signals, we have the daily bearish chart pattern with the candles. Weekly is a very bearish looking candle. You know, it's relative weakness. It's, you know, it's still overbought in my opinion on the weekly chart. Don't like those, but then the bullish signals are, well, you know, we're close to the bottom of the channel. We're still holding previous all-time highs. We could be in a descending falling wedge here, which is, you know, getting close to potentially breaking out. Again, too many conflicting signals for me to get a very clear read and, you know, have confidence in a trade. So that's why I'm personally avoiding it for now until I get a better read on the chart personally. But anyway, that's just me kind of speaking out loud. That's just what I'm thinking. We'll see how it plays out. In terms of options flow, a lot of bearish flow came in towards the end of the day. You can see here, actually quite a lot of bearish flow came in towards the end of the day. Pretty surprising. All four, but they're actually 0 day to expires. All of these came in right before Tesla tanked. Did Tesla tank in the last like half hour? Yeah, it did. Wow, look at this. In the last half hour, it tanked pretty aggressively. As all of these came in, 5 minutes later, look at this drop. Look at this drop on Tesla. Pretty much like right after all those came in, it dropped 3.5%. That's pretty wild actually. It's very interesting. But nonetheless, at least those are gone. Those are 0 day to expire. So I'm not gonna put too much attention on those. In terms of options flow though, nonetheless, yeah, pretty split. Nothing really, you know, convincing one way or the other. So not too much to say from that, unfortunately. Tesla with 17 million confirmed bearish flow, but also, you know, again, nothing too crazy, nothing to really write home about in my opinion. So again, my theory is this. Again, this is just me thinking out loud. I want to make it very, very clear. I could be completely wrong. But there is a chance that the baton gets passed from Tesla to NVIDIA in the next week or two. That's just my opinion. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. Who knows? But that's kind of what I wouldn't be surprised to see. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on Monday. Peace.